My friends, my friends, pay attention to this image. Pay close attention. This didn't happen in previous days. Look at the number of American refueling planes right now in the Gulf region. This here. Just to make it very clear, during all these days, it never even came close to what we're seeing here. We're seeing several refueling planes also leaving from the international airport in Israel right now, heading toward Iraq. Do you think tonight is promising, folks? Do you think something is going to happen this time? Trump also said just a little while ago that he has to cut short the interview he was giving to reporters. He said, I need to leave now because I have a war to fight. He just said that, folks. Do you think tonight looks promising? Since nothing has started yet, do you think it will? We'll discuss how, while the world talks about an agreement, they're still discussing a peace agreement. There's some extremely serious information coming out from inside Iran itself. The country's supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei, is reportedly on the verge of death. Two outlets linked to the Iranian opposition, citing sources close to the Iranian president's office, claim that the leader, Mustafa Khamenei, is in critical condition and could pass away at any moment. And one of these sources said the following: "It won't surprise us if the news of his death comes soon." End quote. Just so you understand, this is the same new leader who took over after his father, Ali Khamenei, was eliminated in the bunker back in February and who has never appeared in public. Never. Only letters written in his name, and now he has disappeared for good, and he disappears precisely in the week when the Americans are pushing for a deal with Iran. Is it a coincidence, guys? And then I ask you the question that I can't get out of my head, honestly, and you probably need to ask yourself this question too. Could there be someone making sure he disappears from the scene to make room for a deal with the United States to be signed? Think about that, okay? We'll come back to this later. And the day didn't stop there. In Islam's holiest city, in Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Pakistan signed a defense pact today. Look at that, folks. A new axis is emerging. A new axis is emerging. And what's written in this pact is serious. If anyone attacks one of the three, it's like attacking all of them. It's the same logic as NATO, but now applies to the Muslim world with one key difference. One of these three countries has an atomic bomb. But the ink on this agreement hasn't even dried yet, and the first test has already come knocking at Saudi Arabia's door. The Houthis, who have been punishing Saudi Arabia for days, responded to the pact with mockery and with a new barrage of missiles this morning. At the end of this live stream, I'm going to share with you the theories that are circulating beneath the headlines in 4 languages about what's really happening here. And for each one of them, I'll tell you here whether I believe it or not as well. Meanwhile, there's no attack in Iran, but this movement is extremely suspicious, suggesting that something is on the way. It's like, if you don't sign in the next few hours, I'll attack you again. I think that's the message being sent to Iran right now, because this number of planes is out of the ordinary compared to the last few days. This really reminds me of major operations that happened in the region during the war with this same number of planes, guys. This isn't just to maintain the security of the ships, okay? This is happening in real time. And the question that will remain until the end of this live is, a contract is a contract, but does it stop missiles? That's the question. And before we start, do me a quick favor here for the channel. Leave a like. Check if you're subscribed, because YouTube has been unsubscribing everyone, I don't know why. So, check if you're subscribed. And if not, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe because I know you haven't subscribed yet. And turn on the notification bell, because only it will let you know right when everything happens here. Live from Israel, right where everything is happening. Local time is 3 minutes past midnight. Let's start here with Mecca. The time here is Israel time, folks. And this date up here, look, is the date here in Israel. It's still the 7th there. Here it's already the 8th. Let's start here with Mecca, because what emerged there today could change the region for many years. Many years. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the President of Turkey, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan sat together and signed what they called the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement. The 3 governments announced the following: any armed attack against any of the 3 countries will be treated as an attack against all. The goal is to strengthen collective deterrence and deepen intelligence cooperation, defense technology, and long-term coordination. End quote. That was the official statement of this agreement. Now pay attention, folks. The Saudi Defense Minister published the following: the alliance strengthens deterrence and integration among the 3 countries and contributes to the security of the region and the world. End quote. And the vice president of Turkey also made a statement, right? He said that the agreement is not directed against any specific country, meaning that the other countries that are not part of it shouldn't be afraid, especially the other Arab countries that are not really on the side of the Sunnis. And now let me explain to you what this document actually means in practice, because there's a lot behind this document that hasn't been said. First, the weight of these three together. Turkey, for those who don't know, has the second largest army in all of NATO. Pakistan is the only Muslim country in the world that has the atomic bomb. And Saudi Arabia brings what it has always had in abundance, which is money, wealth, and oil. So put the three together, and what do you have? The treasury of one, the war industry of another, and the atomic arsenal of the third, all in the same deal. But now pay attention to what this agreement doesn't say, because that's just as important as what it does say. None of the statements mention nuclear protection. Pakistan has the bomb, but who did they build that bomb for? We all know, right? India, their historical enemy. And nowhere in this agreement does it say that they would use the bomb to defend Saudi Arabia or Turkey. In the end, the atomic partner joined this new club. But they didn't promise to lend their heaviest weapon to anyone, okay? And the text also doesn't say what each country actually does if the other is attacked. In other words, it's just one page. Apparently, there's not much there. Their clause is very nice, but the obligation is also very vague. And there's a twist in this story that I can't leave out. In 2018, I don't know if you remember or followed this, but the president of Turkey was personally accusing the Saudi prince, in the case, for those who remember, of that journalist who entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul and never came out again. Do you remember that? He was eliminated inside the consulate. So at that time, the two were declared enemies, and 8 years later, the same two show up arm in arm in the holy city as defense partners. This didn't happen overnight, despite what some may think. It was a whole year of silent negotiations, and the months of conflict in the region sped up the signing. I've been saying for a long time that this axis would be born, and it was. And look at what this means, folks. A kingdom that always bought protection from the United States has now signed an insurance deal with the other two countries. For now, two countries. He's saying, without saying it out loud, that he doesn't trust the old protection that much anymore, because an alliance is like car insurance. When it's time to sign, right? Everyone signs there smiling and happy. The problem is the day of the car crash. And the crash, my friends, is already happening. It's happening right now. So come with me to the second part. Soon we'll talk about this new axis too. The first to respond to the Mecca Pact was exactly the one with their finger on the trigger. The Iranian side, right? The Iranian axis. There, Iran's proxy, the Houthis. The head of the Houthis government responded by saying the following: the agreement doesn't apply retroactively. Our siege for siege equation still stands. Anyone who takes part in aggression against Yemen is an aggressor, even if they wrap it up in a nice headline. End quote. My friends, his message is very clear. That paper of yours doesn't scare me, and my issue with Saudi Arabia is still unresolved, despite any signature or pact between you. And they didn't just stop at threats. Just a few hours after the signing in Mecca, they signed there in Mecca, and a few hours later, about 10 ballistic missiles were fired at bases of forces linked to Saudi Arabia inside Yemen. On the same day that the three sealed this Mecca pact, the Houthis had already given their response on the ground. It's the second heavy blow in 2 days against the same forces. The Iranian press also spread the news that the person responsible for Saudi Arabia's drone program was eliminated in this Houthi attack. He's an important figure over there. But again, this is Tehran's version. Riyadh hasn't confirmed this so far. So take this information with caution, because when they say something, there's a 99% chance it's not true. And last night, the fighting crossed the border as well. The Saudi coalition reported an attack in the city of Najran, already inside Saudi Arabia, with 11 wounded. The Emirates, the United Arab Emirates, immediately condemned it and said that it was a clear violation of Saudi Arabia's sovereignty, and a high-ranking Houthi official escalated the rhetoric even further. He warned that there will be no security at all for the Saudi forces, for their mercenaries, and for their bases inside Yemen. And he said that anyone who helps set up camps or recruit men for Saudi Arabia will pay a high price for it. But what really made me stop was what an official Saudi source told CNN. He revealed, We detected movement of missiles and drones that could be launched in our direction. The preparations point to a combined attack by the Houthis with the militias from Iraq. And maybe the goal is precisely to sabotage the easing of tensions between the United States and Iran, which could indicate a power struggle within Iran itself. End quote. I'll revisit this last sentence at the end of the live stream, since opening up the theories, of which there are several, might be the key to understanding everything. And it didn't stop there. In Baghdad, security forces spread throughout the city because of movements by these armed militias. And for those who don't know, guys, the militias are also part of the government. They receive a salary from the government. They're legally part of the government, okay? And it's not just something like, it's not a sideline terrorist organization. No, guys, they're part of the Iraqi government. But these militias also paused today, at least for now. They said the attack was postponed, not cancelled. That they were planning against Saudi Arabia at the request of a political and religious leader to give diplomacy a chance between Saudi Arabia and these militias. And now let's think together, folks, about what this whole Yemen situation means for the pact that has just been formed. Saudi Arabia took a hit yesterday, took a hit today, and is getting hit again, folks. There's still a warning that more is coming. More bombs are on the way. And Pakistan, which has been a defense partner of Saudi Arabia even before this agreement since September of last year, hasn't fired a single shot for Riyadh so far. Nothing. The Mecca alliance has already come into the world needing to prove itself. So far, there hasn't been any reaction. If this analysis, my friend, is opening your eyes, leave a like. That's what pushes this channel forward. Meanwhile, we're seeing here, hold on, it's not over yet. There's a lot, folks. There's a lot to talk to you about. It's not going to be a 40-minute live stream today. It could be, right? It could be that American attacks start soon. We'll keep talking here for a while longer. Just look at the number of planes here in the Gulf region at this very moment. We have that plane over there with the Kipper on top of it. Kipper, disc, CD, here it is. Look, here's the little plane. It's already circulating here in the Gulf region. Look at the number of refueling planes operating in this region right now. This is out of the ordinary. It's out of the ordinary. My theory is that they're waiting for Iran to present the signed agreement with Oman as soon as possible. Maybe even today. If that doesn't happen, the bombs will start falling once again. That's how I see this unusual movement of planes right now. Stay with me, now it's Iran's turn. Let's discuss Iran, and I'll share the real state of the agreement without any spin. The American news outlet Axios found that Iranian negotiators are waiting for the final approval from Iran's Supreme Air Security Council for the agreement with Oman and the United States. And an American official confirmed the following to Reuters. There has been progress. The agreement is expected soon, and when it is announced, the United States will lift the naval blockade on Iranian ships. End quote. Pay attention to something here, folks. Waiting for approval is not the same as already having signed, okay? We need to make that distinction. As long as the pen hasn't touched the paper, here on this channel, we treat this as a rumor and handle it as a rumor. If you want to know who died or who's going to die, that's not possible. Folks, go back to the beginning of this live. If you join a live stream late, you may not understand it. Just rewind to the beginning and watch. I won't repeat myself. Start from the beginning to understand everything. But there are also physical signs happening right now that increase the pressure to sign. What we're seeing here is also one of the signs that reinforce it. And right now, what we're seeing here, the radars. Follow along, these radars here, these military flights. A large movement of American military planes near Hormuz. There are several refueling planes in the air, the ones that fill up the fighter jets' tanks while flying. That's what we're seeing here. Plus, radar planes that can see everything flying in a huge area. 7 tanker planes of one model, plus 2 others of another model. Plus the flying radar, all active at this very moment. Now guys, in the area of the US Gulf Command, okay? It's happening right now. A tanker plane in the air means one thing, my friends, getting fighters ready to fly far, and for a long time. That's the job of these planes that are now circling over the Gulf. And just to make it clear again, for those who follow this, we keep track of it here on the channel every day. We hadn't seen this kind of movement before. Do you agree? It didn't happen. And now we're seeing it, okay? So this doesn't confirm that an attack is going to happen. But it shows that the United States is keeping the military option on the table right when they're pushing Iran to sign. Yeah, that's what's happening now. It's real-time pressure. It's the old message without words. Sign the paper or the rest of the air power is already standing by. The one who spoke the loudest today was the American Secretary of the Treasury. And he didn't mince words. Look at that. He bet that the agreement could come out today or tomorrow with a 30 to 60-day truce and the reopening of the strait. And he said that this will bring down energy prices all over the world. Then he showed how much pressure the United States is putting on Iran's economy. According to him, food inflation over there, look how absurd this is, folks, has already gone over 150%. And the regime is so strapped that it can't even pay its own soldiers' salaries. And then he said the following. He made a statement there that could be the topic of an entire live stream by itself, folks. He said that the Strait of Hormuz will never be what it once was. That in 2 years, this strait we're looking at here will become just another ordinary channel, without the importance it has today. Because half of the region's energy will stop passing through there. It will go through pipelines and over land. That's what's going to happen, folks. There are already, let's say, things in place. It's already happening. A lot is already happening here through pipelines. And for sure, during this time of war, they're building a lot more. It's the famous AMEC, right, folks? AMEC, for those who know, India, Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel, right? That's the route. You could call it the Silk Road. Within this region, that's happening. He's just stating that in 2 years, this strait won't matter anymore. In other words, Iran's weapon will no longer be relevant. Trump also continued in the same tone. He said he thinks all of this will end very soon, that he doesn't believe Iran can hold out much longer. And he added by saying that the Iranians want a deal because obviously they don't want to get beaten. And Iran responded, my friends, in kind. The spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry countered the American victory speech. He said that the Americans talk about the spoils of war, but to take the spoils first, you have to win the war. And did they defeat Iran? They did not. Well, on that point, I have to agree. The regime is still there. And that has always been my rule here on this channel. As long as the regime remains in power, we've lost the war, okay? Bringing down radar, taking down, destroying a base. That doesn't count for me, guys. It counts for those who think that way, like Westerners, right? That destroying a base is enough. It doesn't work like that in the Middle East. If they're there, they still exist. For them, that's a victory. And we know that's a victory because later they rebuild themselves again at an unimaginable speed, okay? They do this very, very, very quickly. With so many victories being declared on both sides, I want to give you 2 reality checks too, just to keep your feet on the ground, because we need to keep our feet on the ground, right? The first reality check comes from the New York Times newspaper. According to them, Iran's already enriched uranium stockpile is still enough to make 9 to 10 nuclear devices. The program was delayed, but it wasn't destroyed, and international inspectors are still forbidden from entering the most secret facilities. And how do they know this? Folks, it's intelligence information. That's how intelligence works. If they wrote something like that, some member of the intelligence community leaked this kind of information to the newspaper. That's how it works. To undermine Trump, to harm President Trump. That's how it works. The second bucket comes from the Iranian opposition. They claim that during all this calm, which has been happening so far, hundreds of heavy portable anti-aircraft missiles coming from China and Russia, they would have entered Iran. What is a portable anti-aircraft missile? Guys, it's a missile that a person can take home, okay? You put it here on your shoulder. He sees the fighter jet passing by. He locks onto the jet, fires, and that's it. A big risk, right? If they launch several at once, they could shoot down a fighter jet. It's possible and could happen. That's the worst kind. Fixed ones can simply be destroyed. But those that stay here on the guy's shoulder, the ones he carries and quickly puts on the ground, that's much, much more complicated, guys. And spreading millions of those, or hundreds of those, in an area is really, really complicated. But this is the opposition's claim, right? Of course, we don't have proof, but the opposition is usually right. And it also matches a lot with everything this regime has already shown it knows how to do when it gets a break. We know they can do this, really do this. They do this. And now I go back to that information I asked you to remember at the beginning of the live stream. The leader of Iran on the verge of death? Put it up there, next to everything we just saw here, happening right now. The ones who hold the guns in Iran, the Revolutionary Guard, are outside the talks, right? The approval of the agreement doesn't come from the Supreme Council, and the man who should give the final word, the Supreme Leader, has disappeared from the scene. And according to reports, he could be dying right now. Or has already died, right? So notice the coincidence in the timing. The leader disappears exactly on the day the Americans want the signature. Not even in the same week, on the day. Today, guys, this rumor started circulating today, and it's impossible not to ask. Is his illness really just an illness? That's the question. Or is there someone inside the regime, not outside, guys, interested in keeping him out of the way, silent? So the agreement with the United States proceeds without anyone with ultimate authority being able to derail it? I don't have that answer. I'm not going to make one up for you. But I want to point out here that there is a pattern. Whenever Iran needs to sign something big, some internal turmoil always comes up that pushes the decision to a smaller group that's easier to convince. Think about it from that perspective, because there's someone inside who's interested in ending all of this. There is someone, but there's also another side that doesn't want any conversation at all. So for me, right, they gave him something, helped put something in his tea. Who knows what's really happening inside Iran? But if it's true that he's really dying, this explains why everyone is in such a hurry. And if it's something deliberately planted, that also explains it. Because chaos inside is a perfect smokescreen. They know how to do this very well. And now we've reached my favorite part. Time to go down to the basement, guys. Let's go down to the basement. I'm going to show you the theories that are circulating under the surface of Hebrew, Arabic, and Persian news coverage. And I'll tell you what I believe and what I don't believe, okay? I'll tell you exactly that. The first theory comes from the channels here in Israel. The supposed lack of ammunition from the United States. It would be theater to sell more weapons to the Gulf. And why am I saying this? Those who support this theory point to the approval today of 5,250 Patriot interceptors, the ones that shoot down missiles, the Patriots. For 4 Gulf countries. It was approved today. And I looked into it because there are already people making videos talking about this without actually looking for the real information. The approval exists, but it's from May. It wasn't just now, guys. A replacement package that was already circulating before this week's scandal about the lack of interceptors, okay? So, you who make videos, do your research. Don't just say what you read in today's article. Go back and try to find out if this wasn't already approved before. It's very easy to do this kind of research today. So, make videos, no problem, but read. Research a little deeper so you don't embarrass yourself like you are right now. And my verdict, the example they used, is weak. But the mechanism behind it is real. When the whole world shouts that the vault is empty, the ones who make what fills the vault don't lose with that headline. They profit from it, and a lot. The second theory comes from Arabic language analysts. The Mecca Pact would have come out with the discreet blessing of the United States. Their reasoning is as follows. The United States wants to pass on the bill for the region's security. They don't want to keep paying that bill anymore. And well-armed local allies are exactly that. The bill is split. In other words, stop spending so much money in this region. Let's spend more in the United States. Let them take care of their own security. That also explains the Americans' silence in the face of such a big pact. And it fits perfectly with everything this week has shown about the state of their ammunition stocks there in the United States. The third theory also comes from the Arab press, but from Egypt. Egypt's empty chair, right? Because Egypt is not part of this summit. Egypt took part in the talks, but was left out of the photo there in Mecca. And since the club was founded, they said the following, that they accept new members. The network is betting on who will take the next seat in this agreement, in this pact. Egypt is in the lead, Qatar comes right after, and Jordan right after that. That's a fact. This is going to happen, folks, and here, I don't make anything up. As I've already said, I just report, okay? There's an open seat there, and we're keeping an eye on it. Others are still going to join this new pact that was created today. The new Sunni axis. The fourth theory came from a Saudi official. He said the following, internal sabotage. This combined attack against Saudi Arabia is being set up right at the final stretch of the agreement. Who benefits when the tables turn? Who is it? The hardline faction of the regime benefits, especially the Revolutionary Guard. And the reasoning is simple. The power of the Revolutionary Guard comes precisely from conflict, from the siege, from the constant tension, from the eternal war. It's the state of war that justifies their huge budget, control over the economy, the heavy hand at home, and the day an agreement is reached with the United States and the tension in this region decreases, this faction loses its reason to exist, at least the way it exists today, right? With large budgets. So, for those who live off conflict, letting the talk succeed is signing their own irrelevance. And sabotaging the negotiation for this group is a matter of survival. That's why there are these threats from the Iraqi militias and the Houthis attacking Saudi Arabia simultaneously. Along with the week's events, whoever carries the weapon is out of the negotiations. The approval doesn't come from the council. And there's the whisper about the supreme leader's health and the theory of internal war in Tehran. It's no longer just forum talk. It's become a very serious hypothesis, even mentioned by the government. And here's my take, okay? Looking from inside Israel, none of the three Mecca partners is a friend of Israel, okay? Turkey works openly against us in every court and on every stage in the world. Pakistan has never even recognized the existence of Israel. Never. And Saudi Arabia, despite all this rapprochement in recent years, to this day, it hasn't signed any peace agreement with Israel. And it didn't join the Abraham Accords. And here's also my take, which I've been repeating on this channel for a while, for those who've been following me for a longer time. You know and remember this. And back then, people said I was talking nonsense. There were people who wrote that I was talking nonsense. Guys, nonsense. Pay attention. Weakening Iran doesn't leave a vacuum in the Middle East. Iran's place doesn't stay empty for long. Someone always shows up to fill it. And today, that someone appeared. A new axis was born. Sunni, with three giant armies, commanded, for real, in practice. Guys, we know who's really in charge of this. It's Turkey. It's a new address for an old question. Who's going to shape the Middle East? For Israel, today has two meanings at the same time. On one hand, the relief of seeing the noose tightening around Iran. As long as the pressure is on Iran, that's great for Israel. On the other hand, the notebook is open, taking notes on what's happening there, keeping an eye on it. It's not about pessimism, it's just the cost of living here. And before I finish, my friends, it froze here. Before I finish our Hebrew word of the day, hold on, it's not over yet, okay? We're going to track the planes. What's happening in the Strait of Hormuz too? Don't go anywhere, guys. I know you're already dying to leave the channel, but don't go, okay? Don't go. And if you just got here, smash the like button. If you're a hater, hit the dislike. Do your part too, since you're here. Hit the dislike button, man. Go ahead. Make your presence felt here on the channel, okay? So let's go. Our Hebrew word of the day is Brit. Brit. Okay? Look, all these words will be in this video's description. If you want to learn and all that, it's there. Transliterated for you, Brit means alliance, pact. It's the word from the Mecca ceremony. That was the word they used. And it's one of the oldest words from this land, where I'm speaking to you from today. But the real alliance isn't proven by a photo of the signing. It's proven on a bad day. And today, two questions were left hanging. The first one, does a contract stop a missile? Yemen itself already answered that before I did. The Routins fired it. So far, the Mecca contract hasn't stopped anything at all. The second question, it's the one I can't get out of my head either. And that's the one I'll leave you with until the next live stream. Folks, if the leader of Iran really is disappearing, right? If he disappeared from the scene right at the time of the signing, who benefits from this silence? If this live stream is giving you something that regular news doesn't, then leave your like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and send this video to your leftist friend or your leftist relative, right? For those who still think Mecca was just a pretty picture, and liked it, and shared this photo on social media, straight from the mountains of Judea. Let's follow the developments here now. Quickly leave your comments here. Thank you, Lima, for the super chat. Good afternoon. Good evening, dear David. Thank you, everyone, for the coffee. Thanks, my friend. Edna, may the Lord bless you and your household. David, thank you. Lucas, you can say that this pact has the approval of the United States and that Israel is part of a major upcoming attack against Iran. In the coming days, the activity there is intense. I don't believe it has anything to do with anything you said, my friend. It could have the approval of the United States for sure. Absolutely, because the United States profits from this, right? Actually, they don't profit. They just spend less in this region and let the countries here handle their own security, okay? Against the Shiite axis. But there's nothing there in favor of Israel. Turkey. It's not about Israel. They hate and threaten Israel daily. Pakistan also threatens, has already threatened and constantly threatens Israel, does not recognize Israel, the only one that still remains kind of neutral, but also has no agreement with Israel. It's Saudi Arabia. So there's nothing good in this story. I've already said it. The Sunni axis has emerged. You'll see. Soon, Syria will be part of this axis. Egypt joining this axis. Imagine that. A kind of NATO here in the Middle East. What I mean is, what's the problem with that? At some point in history, down the line, if Israel decides to attack any of these countries, it's a direct attack on all three. Soon it'll be 4 countries. Soon it'll be 5 countries. In other words, it's a way to corner Israel from the other side. That's how you have to see this. Because this Sunni axis, it could be any of them. Some may be pro-Israel, but they're just interested in business with Israel for now. We never know what tomorrow brings. You can't trust them. Guys, enemuna, okay? I won't even say the rest because it'll get blocked here in the video. We shouldn't trust these people. Guys, there's really no way to trust them. Thank you. Salatiel, Davi setting an example. Hugs. Thanks for Milson. Hugs to Milson Alves. Adriana, Guidor, thank you for the super sticker. Mustafa is already dead. All he has to do now is say, "May the peace of Yeshua be with you all." Interesting. Good evening. Yesterday, the news reported Trump said the Iran deal would take time. I'm not sure which newspaper you read, Rose. Trump actually said the deal could be announced in a few hours, at any moment. Actually, he has said that several times. He keeps saying that over and over. He said it many times, that the deal will be reached soon. But as I've always said, the best way to understand what's happening here, folks, is this right here. It's this right here. This is the best indicator. Look at the number of refueling planes taking off from Israel right now. They're heading to their new base in Israel now. 2 of them went to Iraq and turned off their transponders. Why do they turn them off in Iraq and not here in this region? Because in Iraq they have those shoulder-fired missiles, portable anti-aircraft missiles. These militias in Iraq might try to shoot them down. They've succeeded before. They could target a refueling plane. Now look at how many planes are here right now. If you can go back to the footage from the 40-day war, it's the same number of planes that were there during the 40-day war, okay? It was about the same amount. And the airspace is still like this. Look, the airspace is not closed. There isn't any notice of prohibited airspace in the region for now. Iran, we know that this is the area that practically has no flights. In this lower area near the Strait of Hormuz. Iraq is normal. Here in Tehran, it's normal. In the Gulf countries, it's normal. Except here, Abra Airport, which has practically closed once again. Remember that yesterday there were flights here in Saudi Arabia? There aren't any anymore because they fired and are also firing missiles and drones in this region. They hit here today, look. In this region, that is. There's a war going on, guys, between Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Take a look at the map here. Let's pull up the map of Yemen. Yemen, this is war. See this side here? Look, this side is purple, right? Purple, blue. And this other side is kind of reddish. So, here are the Houthis. On this side is Yemen's legitimate government. It's the army, the legitimate state. They fight each other. This side here is supported by Saudi Arabia and the United States, okay? So there's a war going on. There's a war happening right now, okay? Things are happening here. And they fired at Saudi Arabia. These are the signals that went off, alarms that sounded, shots, interceptions in this region. In other words, the war is also happening here right now, okay? So now let's go back to the Strait of Hormuz. A lot of movement. Trump said just a little while ago, about 2 hours ago, we have a lot of people, many people here. I could spend the whole day in an interview. If you could leave soon, I would appreciate it because we have a war to fight. Look at what he said. What do you make of that? It's pressure. Pressure on Iran. Either you sign now or everything is ready here to strike you right on your heads. That's what I understand from Trump's statement just now, just a moment ago. Let me see if there's anything going on at Tasnim. Just a second. On Tasnim, they're talking about the statement, this agreement that was signed, which for them is also not good, okay? They're Shiites and the other side is Sunni. It's a 1,400-year-old war, and now there's an agreement within this Sunni axis. The Sunni axis has been born, guys. I even made a video on this channel. I think I made that video more than 3 months ago. You probably watched it. The new axis has been born. That's the title of the video. For those who haven't watched it, go check it out, guys. We're seeing that video play out in real time now. It wasn't a prophecy, no. It's happening now. What I said back then, 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. Let me clear something up. If the fighter jets aren't attacking at the moment, are the tanker planes refueling? The tanker planes, my friend, are probably here refueling fighters in this region to maintain security here in the Strait of Hormuz. There are fighters flying here, flying all the time in this region. And they're prepared for anything, right? Soon fighters from elsewhere may take off and need refueling, so the plane must already be airborne. It must stay airborne. There's no attack yet, but one could begin anytime. It could start at any moment, and it could also be that soon a statement comes out saying that an agreement has been signed and the Strait of Hormuz is open. It could happen. Look here, the Strait of Hormuz, it continues. Go ahead. You guys assess the situation. Look how huge the buildup is outside. We follow this almost every day. Look at the buildup on the inside and look at the buildup on the outside. It's surreal. Each of these dots is a ship. If you zoom in more, we can see traffic here between Oman. This is Oman, okay? It's not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is on this side. This is Oman because this territory here is kind of strange, guys. This is Oman. This is Saudi Arabia. And do you see here? Look, Nahwa. This little piece here also belongs to Oman. This piece of land in the middle of another country belongs to Oman. So here we have ships that seem to be leaving Iran and crossing over to the Saudi Arabian side. Do you see this here? Look, this route is new. This wasn't here yesterday. This wasn't here yesterday. They're crossing over to the Oman side. And on this side here, just look at the number of ships unable to do absolutely anything. This is in real time, folks. These are live images from the Strait of Hormuz. Some ships turned off their transponders. It doesn't matter, my friends. Radar doesn't depend on transponders. The guy who's going to fire a missile from here, from the continent, he doesn't need a transponder to locate the ship. He sees it on radar. So, any ship's radar in this region can identify any other ship. So even if all the radars were destroyed in this region, there are still Iranian ships here that can spot ships here. So it's all very, very, very complex, very... Good evening. Thank you, Magella Rezende, for the super sticker. Sheila, thank you for the super sticker. For those who missed it, good evening, Davey. How much does coffee cost in Israel? I want to know if I can send some money for coffee. A coffee in Israel costs, it depends on the place, 13 shekels, okay? 13, 15 shekels. There are places where it's 15 shekels too. I'll tell you in riyals so you have an idea. It's not cheap, okay? Israel is a very expensive country, guys. 13 shekels is 22 riyals. Very expensive, very expensive, very, very expensive. This is the live stream for now. If anything major happens in the Middle East or if the United States attacks tonight, I'll return and update you in real time, no matter when. In real time to show what happened. If an agreement is made, we'll discuss it tomorrow, though no one believes in it. Hugs to all my friends in Israel and see you in the next live stream.